What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Formula America podcast. We're your hosts, Kurt and Dylan, and we just came off of, in my opinion, one of the better weekends of the season.
Delivered.
The US
Whole
Grand Prix
weekend.
Oh my god, dude! There was so much going on. Like every session,
there's a good sprint. The race sucks, but both of them were bangers.
Yeah, I was like, I really enjoy this sprint race right now. It was amazing, and of course, you got an awesome opportunity, kind of last minute, to go watch the sprint race in person. Man, how was the environment at the track?
It was, I was talking, my wife went with me. We were in a suite right there in the main grandstands, which was a super cool opportunity to go. But you can look up and see turn one. The first year that you and I went together to COTA, like 2019, we were on turn one. We walked up there, got there a couple hours early, like for the race, and could see the whole race.
Yeah.
Sprint quali, turn one was busier and more insane than when you and I were at the race in 2019. Like, there are so many people. It is so bonkers. The atmosphere is incredible. It's so cool being right across from the paddock and seeing everybody everywhere. It was an awesome, positive, fun atmosphere. Aubrey, my wife, brought up an awesome thing I didn't notice. In the middle of the day, the paddock is directly in the sun. And she was like noticing how the start and the finish of each of the sessions, there was a ton of people like outside the paddock in the seats. As soon as like the first couple of laps or whatever would go by, everyone would go inside and watch it on the TV because they were just sitting in the sun. And she was like, would you rather be over there or over here? And I was like, honestly, I think I kind of like it in the main grandstand more. This is really nice. Good.
Yeah, I'll say going to COTA, we've been there a couple times now, is one of the better race experiences that I've had. We've done Mexican Grand Prix, Sao Paulo Grand Prix,
Brazil.
Yeah, and the way those are is like you're closed off. You buy your ticket, you're in one little section. What I love about COTA is you're at the track. You can walk around the entire track. You can go visit all the different areas, and there's always something going on. There's always stuff like all the support races are really cool to watch, and then you've always got like fair games and other stuff you can do.
I mean, we sat in the suite, sprint quali went off, and my wife was like, what do we do now? We got like 5 hours until the sprint rate, the sprint happened. We were waiting for GP quali. We had like 5 hours in between. And I mean, dude, it was gangbusters on the track the whole time. They did a whole master series of like old F1 cars from the 60s and 70s and 80s that did a legitimate race. There was a Porsche Cup that happened. There was hot laps going on. Like, the track was busy the entire time. We sat and just watched all of it. I was super fortunate. One of the guys in the suite, it was actually his suite, is a GT3 racer. Really, really cool guy. I liked him a ton. Very knowledgeable. And so I kind of sat and picked his brain. The Porsche Cup was going on, and so he's very familiar with that. We're talking about the cars, but some of the more interesting things I thought about the track as it's relevant to like F1 and whatnot. We were talking about turn one and how cool turn one is, and how it's kind of one of my favorite turn ones on any track, because you got that long run up to it. It's wide enough to go like 4 wide. It's kind of like Baku, right? There's a chance for carnage at the Baku turn one, this one too. And he talked about why turn one here is so hard. And he said, you come up the hill and you have extra braking because you're going uphill. You can brake later, but all of a sudden you don't realize that the top of the turn, it plateaus. He's like, so you crest the hill hard braking, and all of your weight goes from being like nice and balanced to the front tires, and the back gets really squirrely right as you crest the hill and it plateaus. But you have a lot of turn because all the weight's on the front. So once you get the back end settled back down, you're about to drop off going down the other side of turn one, and the front end lightens up. He's like, so you like plateau, and the car does this wave of where traction is. And he was like, it's so technical to do. That's why there's so much carnage up there, is you have all these cars that are not balanced, that their weights are shifting back and forth as they all try to turn. He's like, it's really technical. He's like, I honestly, as a racer, he was like, I was like, what's your favorite part of turn one? He was just like, bro. He's like, it's not really a favorite part. Like, that turn is complicated.
Just hang on and hope you make it through.
Yeah. I was like, that's really interesting perspective. Like, now that you pointed out, I do see the top of it is plateaued, but I never really thought about the weights shifting and where you can turn. And if you're steering with the back end versus the front end, at what points around this turn, I was like, the guy that built this track knew what was going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. You always get to see there's always something that happens at turn one.
Always.
And I mean, even this weekend, we saw a couple people spinning out and losing it there. But man,
Zhou Guanyu.
Yes, Zhou Guanyu to name one. But man, what a wild weekend, dude. From like I said before, with the sprint being so crazy. And one thing I loved about the sprint was we got to see kind of right out the gate the Ferraris. And just they had some pace. And they're one of the few teams that didn't even bring any updates to this track. And immediately the Ferrari battle during the sprint was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole sprint race.
Well, and they didn't really qualify anything crazy. I mean, Leclerc qualified P3, Sainz was P5. Like, okay, the Ferraris are come and go. They're P3, P5. That's, a reasonable sprint quality. It doesn't mean that they're going to, blow everyone's doors off in race pace. And then like 3 laps into the sprint, you're like, bro, what's up with these Ferraris?
Yeah, that was awesome to see Charlotte, because Carlos Sainz, we're getting to see full spicy Carlos, I think, at this point, because he's said he's got 5 races left. So he's just going to have the most fun that he can and try to make the most out of it. And I mean, it was clean racing, though. It was so hard, but it was so clean. And that was just amazing to see those two guys. Over the years, they've always given us some good battles throughout the seasons. And so I'm going to be.
And Lando, your boy, out of the gate, P4. Through goes Lando. Holy crap.
Lando had a great start. He had good starts both races. Unfortunately, starting to see some issues with old Lando Norris. And all right, let's just go ahead and get into it. Lando Norris, man, I'm starting to notice, we've talked about it before, Lando is one of the faster drivers on the grid. I believe that.
I do too. Very talented.
He is not a championship winning driver. Not at this point. He doesn't have it. He is nowhere near aggressive enough. The whole turn one in the sprint, it was awesome. He made up 3 spots right off the gate. The next day, when it came to the GP, everybody knew what Max's play was going to be.
Yep.
Everybody knew it. He's going to go inside. Lando, he knew it. He's like, all I got to do is head off Max. Lando got a good start. He got in front of Max, but he didn't complete the move. He left space. If you leave any pavement on the inside, Max is going to use it. And he used it. And after that was kind of all she wrote at that point.
Yep. I will say Red Bull brought some upgrades, and they were a lot quicker this weekend than they were at Singapore and some of the other ones. I think that we have a much more balanced. The McLaren might still be faster as a car, but not, Max Verstappen's Red Bull specifically is probably on point. But yeah, he was not aggressive. He totally left the door open, which is a nice and respectable thing to do. Right. But you're just leaving yourself open for somebody that's nice and respectable and wants to win the race.
Nice and respectable doesn't win championships. When was the last nice, respectable champion that we had? Like, it's not going to happen.
Trying to think. Nico Rosberg and Lewis? No, that was not.
Oh, no.
Alonso? No. Vettel? No. I can't think of any now that you mentioned it.
And so what's crazy, especially about those two, is on Saturday during the sprint, Max Verstappen was fast. And Lando, he was faster than Lando. And then once he got past, talking about the GP now, when Max got past him, what we've seen it happen over the course of the season, that McLaren will start the race. It won't be the fastest, but as the weights come down from the fuel, that car gets faster, quicker than the other cars do. It starts to outperform other cars. So we knew he was going to be able to come back. But man, it was just crazy to see the pace differential. I feel like Red Bull had it a lot more on Saturday than on Sunday, because once Lando started getting faster throughout the race, he started clicking down the time, and you could see that he was eventually going to catch up to Max. But
he was. But I was happy on Sunday when Lando did finally catch Max with 7-8 laps. That DRS advantage against the Red Bull wasn't as pronounced as against some of the others. Like, I was like, okay, Max has a chance here, because he's keeping Lando at bay. As long as he can get through those S's clean, which ended up being his downfall, as he lit the rear end up coming out of the S's, and that's when Lando got him, kind of. But that Red Bull was fast, even with the McLaren with DRS behind it. They didn't have quite enough track to run him down without him making a mistake. So that Red Bull was definitely quick.
Yeah.
But so is that McLaren, but neither one of them had shit to answer for Ferrari.
Oh, yeah.
Leclerc's 13 seconds clear. Everyone's going, dude, what the hell's going on?
Leclerc definitely won out on that turn one. And he even said it. He was like, I knew they were going to fight. So I just widened my entry so I could hit the apex. And yeah, once he got into clear air, that was it. Like Charles Leclerc just drove away with this race.
Yeah. But back to your point, Lando was not aggressive enough. And he gave that spot to Max, who is going to take it every single time. And it's just the continued complaining. Even Max said in the post race, he was like, they complain about everything now, and it's like they do. Like Red Bull used to be in 2021. You remember Christian Horner complaining about everything, and you're like, bro, shut up.
Back when they could call straight up to Michael Massey.
Yes. It's like, bro.
On to, even with this whole thing, when Lando caught up to Max and he was within DRS range, and it was like probably 10 plus laps on the edge of the seat, just watching this go on. It showed again, though, Lando was doing the same thing lap after lap. He wasn't switching it up. He wasn't trying to dive bomb up the inside or anything like that. He was just doing the same thing, almost like he was waiting for Max to make a mistake, which if you're waiting for Max Verstappen to make a mistake, like, good luck. It's going to take a while.
And he made one.
He did.
But
he did.
That's not the norm.
Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't bank on him making a mistake normally. But then you look at Lando, when Lando's in front, and going back to him not having the championship mentality, Lando makes mistakes. We got to see that in the sprint race. As soon as Carlos Sainz got behind him, he locked up going into turn 1. He locked up, I think it was on turn 12 at that lap 2 when Charles Leclerc almost hit him in the back. Lando, he's not consistent enough. He will make mistakes. All he had to do, well, I say all he had to do, but what he should have probably tried is the same thing that Max did, because Max is an expert at knowing the rules. I think his race IQ is higher than anybody right now.
Yeah.
Because he knows, like, all I have to do is speed up, hit the apex first. It's my turn. I'll just push him wide and I'll get it all day long. And Lando.
Let me, before I give what is your objective, non-biased opinion on Lando's pass and the stewards giving him a 5-second penalty?
Well, I mean, watching back, especially when you see it from the aerial, you can see, according to the rules, Max Verstappen on that corner. And I think that the way that the rule is written allows for a little bit of exploitation of that rule, and Max knows it, so he's going to use it to his advantage. So I have no fault of Max for that. I also don't really fault McLaren for not giving the space back immediately, because, if they don't justify it to be a penalty, then we're good. If they do give us a penalty, then hopefully he'll be able to pull out 5 seconds. But
he was close, 4.1.
He was getting there. He was getting there, but yeah, I think that it's just Max exploiting a rule, and I mean, I can't fault him for that. He's a very smart driver.
The other side of it that came out later was, I believe, that was Lando's track limit penalty time as well. So I think it was really saying Max, on one side of it, great IQ from Max to make sure that he was a half a car length ahead at the corner. There was no... There was no, well, maybe Lando was next to him. No, Max was a half a car clear at the apex. But Lando not really dive bomb, but he came into that real fast, and he'd already been given the black and white flag for track limits. So him going off track, whether he passed or not, was not a good thing. He was really getting opened up for multiple different penalties for going off the track too many times. And I think Max exploited that too, because you heard on the radio, Red Bull was like, Lando's got black and white flag.
Yeah.
And so, again, to Max's race IQ of, well, push him wide, make him go off track. Also, make sure it's my corner. He was kind of covered both ways, I think. All of the Instagram, they're comparing George Russell and Lando's penalties. Right. It's like, it's not the same. Not anywhere near the same. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of see it from both sides, but I think that you can't really say that Max didn't deserve that turn. And I just think that they need to tighten up that rule a little bit, or maybe Lando should start exploiting the rule, because he had every opportunity. How many times did they come up to turn 12 and he was behind Max? He could have sent a lunge up the inside, done the same thing. But until he starts doing that, getting his elbows out, getting his hands a little dirty, he's not going to win a championship. So,
or if you want that turn to not be able to do that, go through a gravel trap on the end of turn 12.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to go wide then. That's going to solve a lot of problems. Like,
Yeah,
we don't
right.
need to change the rules. Just make their consequences for being off track. I love when tracks do that. Coda did that for several turns, turn 11 in particular this weekend. I love when they're like, hey, we're just going to make it, go ahead, go off track. There's a penalty waiting for you. We don't have to give you one.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You get an immediate penalty.
So, but yeah, I do agree. I think objectively well played by Max and Red Bull. Max earned P3 this weekend, I think.
Yeah.
And I do chalk a lot of that up to Lando's lack of aggressiveness.
Yep. It's sad to see, but it is what it is. All right. So
it is what it is.
On from that, I want to talk about my next biggest highlight for me is these damn rookies.
Bro,
Liam
yes.
Lawson, he'd never driven here before, gets one practice session and comes out and has a really good outing. And then just the entire weekend, both rookies outperformed their teammates in the GP. Liam Lawson getting into blows with Fernando Alonso.
That's a bold move, Cotton. If you're going to get into elbows with somebody, Alonso's not my first choice.
Hey, man, it's like prison rules. You walk in there and you punch the biggest man in the face.
He did, too. And Alonso got onto him off track. You saw them walking, and Alonso was pretty animated. And next day, he said, screw you, bro. Passed him anyway.
Yep. Dude, that was awesome. And then again, Franco Colapinto, man, just so freaking impressive. And it's so wild to think that he might not be on the grid next year.
Get that guy a drive for next year. Holy crap.
Yeah.
If anybody deserves it, that dude does.
I think that Mr. Alex Albon might start sweating here soon if he keeps performing like that.
Albon, to his defense, something I didn't realize until I watched James Vowles' interview. Bottas had crashed into the back of Albon and broken his rear diffuser. And so that was causing him a ton of issues in race pace. So I do want to point out Albon technically had a busted car with a broken diffuser, which is kind of a big deal in these cars. So Franco didn't beat him by 6 positions on full merit.
Right.
But Franco did do awesome.
Yeah. I mean, hell, he wound up putting that thing up in P10?
P10,
starting
another point.
P15. That's really good for him compared to, Logan Sargent, who only had 1 point ever, and it was given to him.
It was given to him here because there's 2 DQs. No, I totally agree, dude. The rookies crushed it. Liam Lawson was holding up Sergio. Franco and Liam held up Perez for a while, which was kind of entertaining. Yuki was giving Perez one hell of a fight.
Perez was just getting beat up this weekend, I feel like. Every time I saw him, he was stuck behind somebody for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, that battle with him and Yuki in the sprint race was really entertaining.
It was. And if I were Yuki, I would have been tempted to take both of us out as opposed to let Perez finish in front of me. But he kept it clean. Dude, there were so many clean battles. There was freaking Max and was it Leclerc on lap 1 of the race going side by side for as long as they did. I was like, yeah, don't crash out. I was losing it. The worst thing Max can do right now is DNF. Please don't crash out.
But I mean, as a testament to this track and how good this track is, even in the cool down room, you got to see Carlos Sainz and Max talking about how good the racing at this track is.
Yes.
And I've never heard them say anything like that before. It just goes to show you how amazing this track is.
The atmosphere here in Austin, and plus we had Georgia, Texas here in Austin this weekend. Last weekend was ACL. This town has been going bonkers and everybody loves it. It's just, I think, a really fun place with a lot going on. I want to talk a little bit about Carlos Sainz, and the number one thing I don't want to hear if you're Carlos's engineers, I smell fuel. I smell a lot of fuel.
Yeah,
there's fuel everywhere. You're like, what? Okay,
guys,
checking.
The smell is really bad. Is he going to burst into flames any second? What's going on here?
That's what I was like. If they're okay, checking on it, and then all of a sudden there's a ball of fire on the other side of the track, this is going to be really bad.
Yeah. I want to know what the actual issue was because you could tell he was losing a little bit of pace, but not for long. It seemed like it resolved itself pretty quickly. And, if there was some sort of fuel leak, I don't think a strap mode is going to fix that. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I had the same. They're like, go Strat 16. I was like, that's gonna fix a fuel. You know what, man? He's still got whatever. I'm here for it. Like, God, dog, those Ferraris were fast though.
Yeah. And then the other one that we never really got any explanation for was Max Verstappen when he came out, or when his engineer called him and told him that there was an issue and they were going to have to fix it at the pit stop, I think they said.
Yeah.
But when he stopped, it was a regular pit stop, didn't see anything. So whatever that was, it's wild to see like how these cars can come up with these issues and they're able to remotely fix it or fix it on the fly from the driver's, point of view. It's just wild to me.
It's crazy. We were watching I was talking with that GT3 racer, and we were watching the Masters series, the old cars. We were talking about how, like, I almost have a little bit, I hesitate to say this, the amount of skill and thought you need in those older cars compared to these newer ones is so different. It's almost like not even the same sport anymore. Like those cars are all manual gearbox, very rudimentary, but you don't have the ability to shift your brake biases and all this other stuff. That's all in setup. And most of those cars don't even have parts anymore. Like you're building the parts, like how incredible that is to today's modern car, where there's so much you have to do on the damn steering wheel that it's like kind of mind-boggling what all they can fix and adjust while doing 200 miles an hour down a straightaway racing, and you're still over there fixing brakes and differential settings. It's like it's not even the same.
It's a different level of complexity. I think they're both difficult in their own way. Even Martin Brundle mentioned it. He was like, "Oh, I got to drive one of these cars during the weekend." And he's like, I couldn't believe all the options and the way they're able to do this. He's like, there's no way I could do that. So it's like, you could tell, like, even for him, like he was probably just on a certain mode and that's where he just left it the whole time and just went around the track. But yeah, back in the day, you're watching those old videos where they're just blasting around, one hand on the wheel, shifting gears and everything. That's awesome. But like I said, it's a different level of complexity.
Yes. All right, let's do these heroes and zeros. I think we're going to pick up a ton of the leftovers.
Okay.
In here.
Okay. You want me to start with the zeros?
Go for it.
Go ahead and knock this out. I've got 2 zeros that I don't want to put on here and one that I think deserves it. My first zero, I'm going to go with Lewis Hamilton. Man, he had a weekend to forget, and he even said it. This is one of his worst weekends. Being knocked out in Q1 on Saturday, both times. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Being knocked out in Q1 and then just an uncharacteristic issue, spinning the car at the very beginning of the race, even though Toto did come out and say that it was 100% the car's fault. We got to see, he mentioned George doing basically the same thing on Saturday. And then Lewis doing it on Sunday. And he was like, it was 100% the car's fault. But yeah, that's just not a good weekend for Lewis.
No, he's on mine as well. Really, really bad. And he spun out in the gravel trap, which is very uncharacteristically Lewis. Like that, that man doesn't make many mistakes like that. When I saw a Mercedes in the gravel trap, I was like, "Yep, there goes George. Holy crap, that's Lewis." What?
Yep. I think it's a testament to just how bad that car is, where they have to drive it on the absolute edge to get anything out of it, it's perplexing to me. And we've talked about before, this Mercedes, it's all over the place. It's like a roller coaster. And we got to see, I think on the sprint shootout, the Mercedes looked kind of quick. Like earlier in the weekend, the Mercedes looked like it was going to be fast. And then the performance was just gone. And it's every weekend it's different. You never know which Mercedes you're going to get. And it's so wild to think that, right before the summer break, they were winning. A Mercedes won like 3 out of the 4 races or something like that. Yeah. So
they won Silverstone.
Yeah.
One of the most old school tracks there are. They won it. Yeah, I totally agree. And COTA is such a balanced track that the Mercedes getting called out this bad is kind of strange.
Yeah. So who knows what's going to show up in Mexico as far as Mercedes? I don't know. They're a big wild card for me right now.
Especially with all the lack of air up there. We're at altitude. I wonder if that's going to help them, hurt them. Who knows?
Yep. All right, my next zero, I want to go with Checo, man, just because of the beating that he was taking from Tsunoda, from Colapinto, from Lawson, and the fact that what I thought was so impressive is Liam Lawson started Where was he? Started P19 and finished P9, 11 seconds behind Checo in the race. Could you imagine?
In a car that's not as fast as Red Bull.
Can you imagine?
And it doesn't
if
help that Checo went out in Q2 in the sprint quali, and P10 and GP quali. Not a great showing.
It's not, and I don't know. I don't even know how to predict what's going on with this guy because I thought he would have been gone a while ago, but I don't see him in that car next year. Talking about Checo, but we'll see.
Yep, concur.
All right, my last 0, and this is, I have to. Lando Norris. He's not, the lack of aggression, he's giving it away. And until he gets that aggression, he's not going to win a championship. And it's sad for me to realize, but the wool is being lifted from my eyes.
Called it. Don't worry, I won't be smug about this at all.
Oh, yeah. You're pissing me off with those text messages before the race. And then the fact that he just gave it up at the start, I'm like, no. Dylan was right. I can't even say anything.
All right. I've got a wee bit of overlap, but I've got some other things as well. I'm going to throw Hamilton in there as well because I think it's deserved. What an awful weekend for such a champion. Not fun to watch. Yeah, I'm going to throw not just Norris. McLaren as a whole had a rough go of it. Piastri's qualifying wasn't great. The strategy calls weren't awesome. Lando didn't do anything good. The whole team as a whole, it was not a great outing this weekend at all. One where I think they had a lot of expectation to do well.
Yeah. For as dominant as they've been lately, to see this, it was kind of like they just didn't really show up.
Yeah. For being the constructors title holder right now. It definitely was not a performance. Man, I've got a couple of alternates in here that instead of just picking one, I'm going to throw a few of these in here. Again, freaking Sauber, man. It just cannot go any freaking worse for that team. Holy crap. From Zhou Guanyu spinning out, Bottas crashing into Albon. It just Sauber in and of itself is bad. Alex Albon kind of had a weekend to forget. I know he took some damage and whatnot. Not great. Pierre Gasly and Ocon, Alpine as a whole, qualified really well, didn't have the race pace and fell out of it. There was a lot of cars that I think kind of got called out towards the back. That was just
yep,
not super stellar weekends for any of y'all.
Yep, I agree.
Heroes.
Got some heroes, man. I got
quite a few.
Some different ones. All right, why don't you start off with your heroes?
But I'd like to. I'm grouping it together, but Leclerc and Ferrari as a whole, hands down, heroes of the weekend. Totally deserved. What a car! What a race! What good strategy! Wins across the board for Ferrari.
Yep, great to see that,
bro. Someone we have not mentioned at all, who's not my usual to mention, but what a drive. George Russell.
Yes, I've got him on mine as well.
Pit lane start because he shagged it into the wall in quali like George Russell does. Pit lane start and to finish P6 ahead of Perez. What a race.
And what was wild is they didn't really show him that much throughout the race. So it's I see the finishing order and George Russell, where did he come from?
He was just silently just creeping through the field, man, the whole race. It was holy crap. I mean, what a race by George.
Good for him.
And then I've got quite a few. I'm just the rookies, Colapinto and Lawson. We've already talked about them. Bro, what good racing by them.
Yeah.
It was a ton of fun watching the midfield between them. I've got some other alternates I could throw in, but I'll let you do them. But man, just great time.
Yeah, Colapinto and Lawson were definitely amazing. They were on mine, but I'll switch up a little bit. So for me, I want to give a shout out to Haas. That
was my alternate is Haas.
Yeah, man. Haas came out. I feel like they're rejuvenated. They've got the new Toyota Gazoo sponsorship, which looks awesome on the car. But to see them double points in the sprint, you got sprint quali, you had Hulkenberg P6, Magnussen P8. Then we had the GP quali. Magnussen was up in P9. and then Hulkenberg getting points up to P8 in the GP. Like, they had a really good weekend.
And Magnussen kind of got hosed on a weird late pit stop.
Yeah.
That even Komatsu at the end was like, there was some messy communication, and I don't think that was all K-Mags, but he still finished P11.
Yeah, that was weird. They like came over like emergency, like, you need to stop now. Like,
yeah,
pull in now. So I want to know what was going on. I know there's speculation, maybe a puncture or something else, but yeah, I don't think they've actually come out and said it. I want to give it to Max Verstappen, man. I feel like they brought some updates to that car. I feel like it did increase the pace of the car, but I still feel like Max was outperforming that car. Max was making that car faster than it deserved to be. And just the way, like I said, man, his race IQ and the way that he's able to kind of exploit these rules and is able to take advantage of that, I have nothing but respect for that. I mean, it's a rule. It's there. He's going to use it. So I think he earned that spot on the podium. So definitely going to.
The other thing they talked about Red Bull technical background is that the upgrades they brought to the car weren't really speed upgrades, but balance upgrades. And they said that they were like talking to Max about it, and the car's been fast, but it's been very unruly, very unpredictable, and it's been crushing Max's confidence in the car, which of course makes you go slower and more tentative. The whole point of this upgrade package was apparently really to balance the car out and make it more predictable so that Max could do Max things, which is what he did. I thought that was really interesting. Like, hey, we're not doing like aerodynamic speed upgrades. We're just trying to make the car balanced. Yeah. And it seemed to have really worked.
Yep. And yeah, I agree. All right. My other one, I just want to go with just Austin, COTA, the USGP as a whole, man. I'm very proud that one of the best tracks, one of the best races is right here in the US. And, you know, that's just something that I'm actually really proud of. So I'm glad that this weekend was so good. So I want to give them a huge shout out.
One of the coolest things I thought was during sprint quali on Friday. I believe is Brundle or Crofty. They did the pan where the helicopter was racing down the pit lane straight and then panned up. And there's the big US flag right there as it like peeled away. And it's either Crofty or Brundle. One of the British guys, though, who's like, man, I'm not going to lie. It's a cool looking flag. It's giant, like right at the end of that lane. He was like, that's cool. And I was like, that's pretty, I think that's pretty cool when even, the commentators are like, damn, bro, nice.
Yeah. And I love how much of a spectacle it is. And, all the American races are a spectacle, love it or hate it for the Europeans. But this one I feel like there's a lot of energy, like where it's not like Miami where it's like gimmicky and like everybody's like, oh, here LL Cool J and that. Like everybody, like even though they're all like dressing up with like cowboy boots and like all this crazy stuff, all the graphics are changed for everybody.
Hulkenberg looked pretty good in a cowboy hat. The shot he took, I'm like, damn, bro, you look pretty good there.
I love it, man. This is just such a great weekend. And I think next year I'm definitely going to be there.
Yes, for sure. All right, let's do these predictions.
Oh, man. I thought I was a little nervous
for a good one. I'm not sure what I did. All right. Sprint quali, Max Verstappen took pole. Not what either one of us, I think, expected.
No, I had Lando.
I had Piastri. Wrong. Oh, dude, I don't think I got a single thing on this.
They're full of the results here.
I got the race results. P3, the correct answer was Lando Norris.
I had Oscar Piastri.
I had Max. P2, correct answer was Carlos Sainz.
Whew, out of nowhere, I had Verstappen.
I had Norris. P1, Max Verstappen.
I had Norris.
Yeah, I had Piastri. I didn't get a single one of those.
Golly.
What was your wild card?
My wild card I also did not get. I had Fernando Alonso in the top 6. Where was
Colapinto beat Albon.
Fernando Alonso came in 18th. You had Colapinto beating Albon?
Got it.
Good job.
All right, GP quali. The correct answer was Lando Norris. I got that right, John.
I got that right too. So
thanks a lot.
A wash.
Russell. Stupid.
That was about to be Max Verstappen. I think we all saw it coming.
Yeah, it was about to be. Okay. P3. The correct answer was Max Verstappen. I don't think I got a single one of these. P3. The right answer was Max.
I had Charles Leclerc.
I had Leclerc as well. P2, the correct answer was Sainz.
I had Verstappen. No, I had Norris.
I had Hamilton.
Actually, no, I switched it. I did have Verstappen there.
Doesn't matter. You're wrong.
Yeah, either way. Yeah. Well, so I had Stroll there.
The winner of the U.S. Grand Prix was Charles Leclerc.
Nobody got that.
Yeah, I had Max. My freaking wild card. I had Perez in the top 5.
Oh, buddy. I was close. I thought I was going to get it. I had more than one safety car.
Dude, I was thinking about you. I remembered that. We had that initial safety car, and I was like, God, dog, Kurt's probably going to get this one.
I was like, there's a lot of race left. Something's going to happen.
And I really expected it to happen. I'm pulling up my
So while you do that,
predictions.
I would like to say that as far as the drivers' standings, we still have Max Verstappen in the lead. Lando Norris is behind him. Was that
56, I believe now.
Yeah. But we have Charles Leclerc now coming up. Lando Norris has 297 points. Charles Leclerc has 275. So he's getting close. Him and Lando have the same amount of race wins.
I know, man. Constructors
Championship. We have.
How many points did you get for that prediction?
I got 1 point.
All right. Current standings: 42 me, 23 you.
It's like Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. I got to be more aggressive. Actually, being aggressive is what got me in this position. All right. So looking at the constructors' standings, we have McLaren in the lead with 544, Red Bull 40 points behind at 504, and Ferrari only 8 points behind Red Bull at this point.
Yeah, that. So, and I was doing the math. I was talking to someone. Generally speaking, you lose $10 million of prize earnings per position from first place. So right now with Red Bull being in second place, they're missing out on $10 million extra dollars of prize money. They lose out to Ferrari, they're missing out on $20 million. Whoa. I know Perez, the rumor mills that he's bringing around 20 to 30, but you know, which is, I think is what really has kept him in that seat. But now you're kind of netting yourself out to not. Yeah. I think that's going to start really playing a factor.
Dude, if that Ferrari keeps it up, we could see Ferrari in P2 in the drivers and in the constructors.
That'd be awesome. Be really fun. Very reminiscent of like Kimi Räikkönen when he won in 08, 07, 08. So. Right around there. Yeah. Cool, man. What a great weekend. Totally delivered from start to finish.
Definitely. If you guys also, we have Mexican Grand Prix coming up next. Dylan and I will be there in Mexico City. So if you want to see what's going on, make sure you follow us on Instagram, Formula_America. If you follow us, you would have seen that Dylan was there at the race this weekend as well. But man, I'm so pumped. We're leaving in I got 2 more days until I'm getting on a plane and heading down to Mexico. So I'm excited for this.
So ready. Just total shenanigans.
It's going to be awesome. Tacos and tequila. I can't wait.
All day, every day.
All right, guys. If you like this podcast, make sure leave us a rating, leave us a review, follow us on Spotify, also on Instagram. Like I said, Formula_America. And other than that, we'll see you on the next one from Mexico or after Mexico.
We have prediction pod coming up for it.
We do have the prediction pod. I'm already in Mexico, man. I'm already gone.
You're already mentally there. You're on the beach.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Unless you got anything else, Dylan.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, on that note,
stay classy, America.
We'll see you next time.